Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Coffee and Football, presented by BKCW. I'm your host, Blake Monroe, where I'm joined every day by Bobby Burton, who's in Gainesville, getting ready.
Longhorns.
And Jerry Hamilton. Tell us where you're checking in from this morning, what you're drinking, your questions in. We got a couple of special guests coming later today, Coach Brian Irwin, and then we're going to have a beat writer from the Gainesville Sun who knows all about the Gators joining us here in about 15 minutes. But first, guys, let's take a look at the latest availability report that came out last night and some changes on this one.
Yeah. Not necessarily good ones, Jerry. Not necessarily good ones. Cedric Baxter remains doubtful. Manny Muhammad has been downgraded from probable to questionable, and we do not believe he's going to see much action, if any, in Gainesville this weekend. Sark has been pretty straightforward with these injury reports in his time at Texas. I can't really think of a time when a questionable player on a Thursday ended up playing in the game on Saturday. So I think it's safe to say that we may be in a scenario right now where Texas may be without not only one of its top running backs, but its top cover corner as well. Emmett Mosley, Quintravian Weiser, Kobe Black, Xavier Filsaime, all listed as probable. I expect all of those guys, especially Trey Wisner, to play. I'm hearing anywhere from between 10 to 20 snaps for wide receiver Emmett Mosley.
Yes, and then on the Florida side, Joseph Mbaktu, the guy who was committed to Texas for about, a day and a half or so, jokingly. He has now been added to the out list. Of course, Billy Napier's playing games because there's no way you only have players out and nobody questionable, probable after playing LSU and Miami back-to-back weeks and the physicality of that. So that's interesting to see. So Mbaktu, who played about 22 snaps against Miami, he is out as well for Florida. So we'll see where they're at with like the Michael Borio, George Gums, some of those other defensive linemen. Ed Gums is an edge. Borio's the big over the ball player. Where they're actually at with those guys come Saturday. But that's obviously that injury report. They're playing around with that a little bit on the floor.
Yeah, look, what are they going to do? Find a guy that's on his way out?
Yeah.
I will say I came in early this morning, got here. I stayed in Jacksonville overnight and got here really early this morning. The weather here, it is breezy, folks. It's been overcast, but the weather has peaked out. Sun's peaked out here and there. It was wet all last night, apparently, and it's wet again this morning. I think that it's fair to say we're probably looking at some inclement weather tomorrow. I don't know exactly what the forecast has. Blake will have that for us in a minute. But I would add that for the Longhorns on Saturday, it's going to be interesting weather. I don't feel like it's going to be too hot, but boy, it's going to be. I think it's going to be slick and wet, and we'll see how it goes. If you've never been to Gainesville before, by the way, there's a reason they call it the swamp. There are trees all over this place, littered with moss that hangs from the tree. So there is a very good reason why it reminds me a little bit of South Louisiana on the way into New Orleans with that breeze, not only with the breeze, but the moss hanging from the trees, etc. So here we are, and Ben Hill Griffin Stadium went up into it a little bit this morning, but nice spot, and I think the Longhorns should get here around 5-6 o'clock this evening.
For those that have never spent any time in that Gainesville area of Orlando North, it is really humid, muggy, and everybody's like, "Oh, it's by the coast." Well, it's an hour away from the beach in Gainesville. It's centrally located in the state of Florida. And having lived in that state for 6.5 years, that Gainesville is muggy, humid. Like when it gets after a rainstorm, that place is no man's land. It is rough.
There's a nice breeze right now, at least, though, Jerry. There's a nice breeze right now.
Yeah.
All right.
What's that weather report looking like?
I was going to say, before we do the weather report, I'm going to let Bobby tell us about BKCW, and then we'll come right back to that.
Yeah, absolutely. Today's show being brought to you by BKCW Insurance. Did your business have a frustrating insurance or employee benefits renewal? Most likely you didn't hear from your agent all year, and then right before it was time to renew, your agent delivered the bad news of a rate increase. When this happens, the agent is providing your business no value, and you're stuck in what we call the insurance trap. BKCW takes your business out of the insurance trap by providing you with actual risk management consulting, not just price quoting. Operating out of its headquarters in Austin and owned by a UT grad, BKCW uses a 5-step process to identify your business's weak spots and design a plan, execute it, and monitor your situation throughout the year so that you can lower your insurance costs while effectively managing your company's risk. BKCW has already helped some of the most well-known construction companies, restaurant groups, breweries, and nonprofits in Central Texas escape the insurance trap. We use them here at On Texas Football as well. And it all starts with a free risk assessment. Go to bkcw.com or send an email to info@bkcw to get started with a free risk assessment or claims audit and escape the insurance trap.
Good stuff. All right, yeah, let's take a look at the weather, fellas. This is the afternoon forecast for Gainesville. 84, it says, mostly cloudy with a couple of showers and a thunderstorm. I did look at a local weather hourly site, and it said at kickoff there's a 40% chance of rain, and then I think it went up to like 58 within the next hour. So rain, obviously, and it's worth noting, as you can see at the top of the screen, the line has fallen to 5.5. Texas now a 5.5 point favorite.
Yeah, the line's down. Over and under is actually up a little bit, which is interesting considering it's going to be wet and rain and wet, very windy. I think the wind is going to be the biggest thing in this game, honestly. But the weather has moved the line, I think, a lot in this game. Also, does the injury of Manny Muhammad, does the questionability of his play, CJ Baxter, does that change it a little bit as well from a Texas perspective? We'll see. But the biggest thing, it's, they said it dropped to 4.5 last night. It's been as low as 4 at one point. But I do think the biggest thing, the rain will probably come and go. I'd be surprised if it's just like a 2-hour downpour raining. It's going to be the wind with this system, is going to be the wind. If the wind is consistent at 15, gusting to 25 to 30, that's really going to affect the passing game and the kicking and punting game. Like, it's going to have a real effect on this game and how these coaches call the game, depending on where they're at, whether they're into the wind, downwind. Because the stadium, I was wrong yesterday. Stadium runs north to south, so it's probably going to be a crosswind at an angle Saturday. So some of that you're going to be down cross, some of it you're going to be into the cross, and if that wind is gusting like they're forecasting, that's going to change how these guys call this game.
All right. Let's see here. Up next, as we wait for our guest, Jerry, I guess we can just go ahead and jump over to recruiting.
Yeah,
if you would like to do so.
Yeah, I was going to tell you guys a little bit more about Jermaine Bishop's senior season today, because they have another big game. They're playing College Park tonight. I believe our Carl Padilla, friend of the program, is going to be at that game. But, Jermaine Bishop is having one of those seasons that you dream about as a high school football player, right? He has had, he's completed a 21-yard touchdown pass, but obviously he's rushed for 271 yards in 5 games, 258 in that one game against the Woodlands, where he played a lot of quarterback. Then he's had 35 receptions for 620 yards and 8 touchdowns in 5 games. In that one game, he didn't play much at wide receiver. So you're talking about a guy who's over 1,000 all-purpose yards right now into the season. And that's just he's having one of those crazy, unbelievable seasons for a guy that had already put a lot of numbers on the board. So I think he's one of the all-time leading receivers in the history of the city of Houston. At this point, he's at a 258-yard rushing game against the Woodlands. He's at a 240-yard receiving game against Caney Creek. Last week, they played Cleveland, who was not a very good team, so he didn't do a ton in that game. But he is closing in on 1,000 all-purpose yards in 5 games, having a tremendous season. And again, tonight, they play College Park. And that game will be locally televised in the Houston area. So again, another College Park 5-0. So it's another opportunity for Jermaine Bishop. He's just having a great year. He's making plays on both sides of the ball. He's got multiple tackles, caused fumbles. But tonight, this will be the best, probably the best team they've played this year to this point, I would say. That may not be true, actually, because they played Klein Collins. Klein Collins is really good. The second best team they've played. But Jermaine Bishop's just having a whale of a season, guys. And I just wanted to point that out again because there aren't many guys that put together seasons like this that are playing it's reminiscent of Quandre Diggs, his senior year in high school at Angleton a little bit. Now, Quandre didn't put up the gaudy offensive stats, but Quandre put up just gaudy stats in general, playing through an ankle sprain in the return game, at safety, at running back, at Wildcat quarterback, just doing whatever he needed to do. Jermaine Bishop is having one of those similar seasons in the Houston area. He's got 29 tackles in 4 games, 2 caused fumbles, 3 tackles for loss. So, Bobby, he's putting it on the board in every way possible, similar to what Quandre Diggs did at Angleton. And we all saw how that turned out. Quandre Diggs ended up playing 10-plus years in the league, and Jermaine Bishop's a different player, but they're very similar in how much they're dominating high school football.
Yeah, I think that you said that he's one of the leading receivers of all time in the city of Houston. He actually is the all-time leading receiver now. He broke that, I think, a week ago, the 35 catches. But he's been it's very interesting that we're mentioning him given the background of this game and the context within it, because one of the reasons why he is the all-time leading receiver in the city of Houston is Florida quarterback DJ Lagway was his quarterback in high school for his couple of years. But Bishop is, as I look at him and watch him play in this clip, if you're not watching this and listening to us on podcast, we're playing the huddle video of him. I just got to say this. He reminds me of what Texas needs more of on offense right now. And I keep saying, and I know, Jerry, you and I have disagreed on this, but I feel like Texas lacks a little punch on offense. He looks like a guy that provides punch, if that makes sense to you. I think he adds some suddenness. I don't know if he'll be able to contribute right away when he gets to Austin, but he certainly has the make of someone that should be able to be a big piece of the puzzle for the University of Texas before long. You mentioned other news, Jerry, in recruiting. We need to talk about, you had predicted at some level, or suggested, I guess is a better term, that Dre Quinn, the defensive end out of Georgia, after decommitting from Clemson, it looked like it might be down to Texas and Tennessee. But you said, watch out for Ohio State throwing its hat in the ring, and tell us what happened there as well.
Yeah, I'd been saying that they were trying to get him up this weekend for the Minnesota game, and that is going to happen. That's been reported by multiple people, and we thought it might happen, but Dre Quinn is going to make a visit to Ohio State this weekend for the Minnesota game. So that's going to add a wrinkle and a change, a potential timeline in this recruitment, because I think Texas and Tennessee were battling, and they were hoping Dre Quinn would do something soon. But obviously now with this visit to Ohio State, that's going to give, then Texas is going to want to get him back on campus in November, right? Then Tennessee's going to try to get him back on campus later in the season. So that adds a different element. And it also tells other schools, hey, this guy's open to schools outside the region. So you might see if somebody else pop in there into this recruitment or try on Dre Quinn. But that was one that Texas felt really good about. They felt better about it than Tennessee did, from talking to a couple of people. But now he's visiting Ohio State. It's gonna be much more of a battle, I believe, unless he just goes to Ohio State and comes back and shuts it down. But I think Texas is working to get him on campus in November. They're working to get Kendall Gerville on campus in November. Obviously, the Florida commitment at Fort Myers, who's out for the season with an ACL, tells you how much Texas values him. They're still recruiting him just as hard as they were. So we'll see what happens there. But Texas is going to get some guys on campus in November for these games that are top targets, and we'll see just how many of them they do.
All right, I want to go back to Bishop for just a moment. Alec here says, was Worthy a better prospect than Bishop in high school?
That's hard to say because Worthy he was part of the COVID year. So Worthy didn't get to run track his junior year in high school. He didn't have much of a senior year of football. So it's kind of hard to say, like on the surface, you could say, well, Worthy was a better prospect. But for me, it's hard to say because he didn't get these opportunities, right? I mean, so it's, Worthy might have been even better than we all thought in high school, but you never got to see him develop that last year and be on the field, Bobby, for tracker football, really. I mean, that class of kids really had their senior and junior track season, senior seasons cut short.
Yes, they did. And but all the markings were there, similar to all the markings that are there for Jermaine Bishop. I mean, Xavier Worthy ran a 10.45 100-meter or 10.54, I can't remember which, in high school. He was one of the area's players of the year from Fresno, which is a typically hard-nosed area of California with really talented athletes. So he has all the markings, similar, in my opinion, to what Jermaine Bishop has.
Yeah, and by the way, I was part of national rankings at On3 at the time, and we ranked Xavier Worthy a 5-star prospect just based on what we had seen to that point. And that class was tough because those kids, again, missed time. But I agree with Bobby that, I mean, the markings were there, but those kids were – it was tough because they had their high school careers cut short, essentially.
We're about to have our special guest join us, but before we get to him, Bobby, I'm going to let you tell us about IP Vanish this morning.
Yeah, sure. Let's talk about IP Vanish. Nothing kills game day like a blackout or blocked live stream. That could happen to you tomorrow, depending on where you're at and what program you have. IP Vanish VPN keeps your connection private so you can bypass restrictions and watch securely, even on public Wi-Fi. And there's more. With IP Vanish Advanced, you also get a secure browser that blocks trackers, malware, and viruses, plus 1 terabyte of cloud storage to back up your files. That means your streaming stays private, your browsing is protected, and your files are always safe. Right now, On Texas Football listeners can save 83%, just a little over $2 a month for all-in-one protection. Go to ipvanish.com/On Texas Football. That's ipvanish.com/On Texas Football, or follow the link in the description of this episode. Again, IP Vanish. Nothing kills game day like a blackout or blocked live stream.
And Jerry, tell us about the co-op.
Yeah, I can do that. The co-op is University of Texas Co-op and 40 Acres Apparel. University of Texas Co-op is a nonprofit and has been serving the Longhorn community since 1896. Seems like a long time. Every penny of profit directly benefits course material scholarships. In fact, over 9,000 students received free course material scholarships in the previous academic year. Obviously, one of their top sellers there is the 40 Acres Apparel. It was born inside DKR, designed and built exclusively for the University of Texas and Longhorn Nation. Go down to the University of Texas Co-op or go to the universityoftexascoop.com and get geared up with 40 Acres Apparel. Great designs, fashionable, high quality, SPF 50 important, moisture wicking, gonna need that in the humidity. And it's just super good product. I'd say great product. And it looks great too. Collar integrity, Rod Baber says, I agree. I'm wearing one now. Feels great. 40 Acres is also the proud sponsor for the course material scholarships for UT students. Thank you to the University of Texas Co-op and 40 Acres Apparel for all they do for University of Texas athletics.
All right, I'm going to bring our guest in. We're going to talk to Andrew Abadie of the Gainesville Sun this morning. Andrew, how's it going?
I'm doing all right. Thanks for having me on, guys.
I appreciate you joining us, Andrew. Billy Napier in some trouble, it looks like. But he's going to try to work himself out of that, just like the Florida Gators probably going to try to work themselves out of a 1-3 funk here. What are your thoughts on the game coming up between the Longhorns and the Gators?
I think the best way to sum it up is oof. It's not ideal for Florida right now. And, unlike last year when Billy turned it around, there was favorable games down the stretch. There's really no favorable games on this schedule. This is their third straight top 10 opponent. I mean, which is absurd. Now, they're coming out of the bye week, but you were hoping they'd get healthy, which they have in some areas. But man, it seems like they're starting to drop like flies, and things are starting to stack up against them very quickly.
Hey,
I got to
Andrew,
ask you about
Yeah.
their injury report. Jerry and I were talking about it. It seems like Billy Napier likes to play possum a little. He just suddenly added Joseph Mbaktu to being out. Has he traditionally not listed anybody as questionable, doubtful, or is this something new for him?
I wasn't here last year, and this is only the second SEC injury report that we have had. But yeah, usually these names pop up out of nowhere on the outs. He kind of stays away from, at least from what I've noticed, the probable and questionables, which honestly I prefer. It's a little easier for me. But the real kind of surprise, I think, for a lot of us was Jacoby Jackson, who's their number 2 running back. Last year he ran for 500 yards and 7 touchdowns. Hasn't had a great year, but he's still their number 2 man. And the feeling heading into this week was they're going to have to rely on their running backs, and he would have been a big part of that game plan. So I think that's a big blow. And then obviously, the report from late last night is that they lose another guy on the defensive line, and so they're getting really thin right there.
Hey, Andrew, what is the, I don't know if vibe's the right term, but what is the overall, what are you expecting from the crowd and the atmosphere and the vibe around Gainesville tomorrow? Because it feels like if DJ Lagway gets off and the offense get off to a good start, the home crowd will be a big advantage unless it's a monsoon or something crazy. But if the offense struggles, it seems like it could just turn on Billy Napier really quickly in that stadium. What's the vibe like around Gainesville right now?
Yeah, it's strange. So for context, I'm kind of a pro of covering bad football teams from my previous job. And this is different in the sense of, this is a place that has not experienced, bad football. I mean, this is their worst start since the mid 80s, which is crazy in itself. And yeah, I don't know. We were kind of talking about this week amongst the media of what this crowd might look like. Before the season, this was like the game. Like this was the game everybody was looking forward to, and now all of a sudden it is. It's a blimp, and I don't even know if it'll be. I'm sure they'll say it's a sold out game, but I'm kind of suspicious. I don't think they've announced it as a sellout, which I think they've sold out the last like 4 straight seasons of home games, and that might be telling in itself. Yeah, it's just I think at this point it's weird. Everybody's talking about a coaching search that hasn't even begun yet, and
Right.
it's like this guy could still turn things around. I mean, I don't know how much he's gonna have to do to turn things around. I mean, he's got such a gauntlet, but yeah, it's a very strange environment right now.
As if it's strange, the one thing I would say, having been through coaching changes myself over the years, is it gets clarified really quickly as soon as a new coach comes in. So you have that to look for, at least, Andrew. Hey, the thought here is that Florida's defense has played well enough to win. The Florida offense has lagged under DJ Lagway and Billy Napier's guidance. Is that how are we reading the room correctly in that regard?
Yeah, I think so. I'm kind of somewhat partial to give DJ some slack because I don't think it's all him. Also, kind of like everybody else, they won't say it, but I don't think he's 100%. He's clear, and he's missed basically 9 months of full contact football leading up to the last 2 weeks of the season. That was evident. And he just looked like a guy so far who has been kind of thrown in the fire, unprepared. And there's been a few times where there's some plays last year, going back and watching his highlights, that he can do that he just hasn't done this season. And then to add to it, I don't think Billy Napier has done him many favors in terms of play calling. And I'm usually not as critical with the play callers, but it's obvious teams know how to defend DJ because he didn't have tape last year. And, as the play caller, you're supposed to account and adjust for that. And they're clearly not doing that. And so it's been a lot of these short passes. I mean, he's really struggled throwing the ball downfield. And I think it's because he's not 100%. And so I think that's another layer to it. But at the end of the day, it's a lot of it's on Billy for not trying to, if from the coaching searches I've watched, when you're on the hot seat like this, you got to start pulling every trick out of the bag that you've got. He's been really sticking to his guns and kind of doing the formula for madness, doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. And but the defense has played really well. I mean, they've kept them in every game, even the Miami game, until the last 5 minutes. And now, though, they're losing a lot of key players due to season-ending injuries, and I think that might come back and bite them this week.
How is because you're there for the media sessions, how is DJ Lagway handled his struggles? Because Arch Manning is out in front with the media after every game, win or lose, and he had a really rough performance against UTEP. How's DJ handling this process?
To give DJ credit, I mean, he went out in front of the media after he threw 5 interceptions against LSU. I mean, that's one of the worst performances, or the last time somebody threw 5 picks was in the early 90s here. So we got him earlier this week too, and I think he's handled it well. I mean, the guy is clearly polished. He's likable, I think he's handled it as best you can. I mean, he's taken clear ownership. His thing this last week was the guarantee they'll get things right, and you hope to see it for the guy because him and Arch are under such microscopes these days.
Yes.
And the firestorm is sometimes unfair, but I do think perhaps the more interesting thing about the Florida fan base is that their football IQ, at least from what I can tell so far, is a little higher than some other fan bases have been around. And they're not as wild. There's not as many wild takes on the players. So I think the fans have kind of recognized that it's not all on DJ, but there is pressure for they have a really good true freshman, Tramel Jones, who looked the part in the season opener in the second half. Of course, it was against Long Island, but there's talks of to still give this kid another chance, or give this kid a chance over DJ. And it's like I said, it's been a strange. I don't know. I guess when people get angry, they get weird. So it's been a little different, but I think DJ's handled it as best he's could.
We got a question from the chat. Thoughts on Florida pass pro? Has the interior of the offensive line was supposed to be a strength of Florida this year. Jaden Ball still run it for 5.9 yards a carry, even through these offensive struggles. Obviously, your thoughts on the Florida pass pro, and then this seems like a battle of who can get to the most third and shorts, because neither offense has been good on third downs. 2 of the worst in the country. And Billy Napier said way too many 3rd and 7. So your thoughts on pass pro, and then what they can do to kind of rectify the third down offense. And I think first down is the most important down in this game for both offenses.
Well, I think the third downs are actually tied to the offensive line. I mean, like you guys mentioned, the offensive line was supposed to be one of the best offensive lines coming back into the SEC, and they've been awful. I think that group is, I think so far they have like 11 or 12 penalties, and a lot of them have come on 3rd and short, which is killing them on 3rd down. And so I think one thing's tied to the other. The pass protection, particularly on the left side, not as great. And it's been frustrating to see, because it's a lot of veteran guys who are not supposed to be making these silly mistakes on 3rd down. And, I don't know if that's because they haven't been around their quarterback in 9 months, or if it's just the offense failing to gel. But that's been a big problem, and a lot of the problems on 3rd down, that's been a root of the cause. I think my fun stat I pulled out last week was on 3rd and 7+. Florida is 1 for 27 on converting those 3rd and longs.
Wow.
And last week, their last game, they go 0 for 13 on 3rd down, and I think they had 5 what I would consider 3rd and short, which is 3rd and 3 and less, and they didn't convert on any of them. In fact, they netted 1 positive yard on those 5 different downs. So they're feeling it on both ends. You hope that they have found ways to tweak the offense this week, but with Billy acknowledging that it's just him calling the plays, I don't foresee a change of things. The one thing that this offense does have going for it, they're going to be completely healthy at receiver for the first time this season. That's a spot they think they're deep at, and I think they're deep at too. maybe that bails them out a little bit, but yeah.
Well, hey, Andrew, do us a favor. Look into your crystal ball. I know you have one right there. I can tell. Look into your crystal ball and tell us what we're going to be thinking about, I don't know, 30 hours from now when Texas and Florida have finished here in the Swamp. What is your prediction, and how do you see this game going?
I'm going to say it's going to be kind of a low-scoring game. I think both these defenses are, going to kind of take advantage of both of these offenses that have somewhat struggled. But I think for Florida, it's going to kind of it's going to go the same way it did against Miami. Offense can't keep the defense off the field. Texas will start taking advantage of a worn down Florida defense. Florida will have its one spurt, but to keep it interesting. But I think Texas is going to pull away. And look, I think Arch Manning catches too much flack. I mean, he's still a really good college quarterback, and I think he's going to figure it out. So I think Texas is going to pull this out in the second half. It'll be close at first, and it's probably going to be a really ugly football game in the first half. But in the end, I think the Longhorns are going to pull away.
Going to be fire Billy Chance in the fourth quarter?
I hope not. I've been through that before. Although when I went through that at my last job at Southern Miss, it started at the end of the first quarter, which was unique in itself. So I hope not, because that makes my job busier. I think right now it's, can Billy make it to the second bye week and survive to the end of the season? You got Texas and then Texas A&M in between. I mean, that's 2 top 10 games. I mean, if you win one of them, I assume that gives you extra life, but who knows? Look, I know I've been dogging Florida, but I do think they can win this game, because I know Texas has struggled. Florida's defense has played well, and they've been in every game despite playing horribly on offense. So you have to figure average, they have a shot to win.
Thank you so much, Andrew Abadie from the Gainesville Abadie from the Gainesville Sun. We appreciate you, man.
Alrighty, guys.
Thanks, Andrew. Right. Well, I think our next guest is here, so let's just jump right into it. Coach Brian Irwin. Coach, how's it going this morning?
Doing good. How you guys doing? I got to put my sunglasses on to see Bobby.
I know. Huh?
Come on, I'm trying here, guys. What do you do? Is this better?
He wanted to get a little sun in Florida before that thing turns ugly in about 12 hours.
You know what my deal was? I was trying to show everybody the stadium, but all they saw was the sun, I think, Brian. I'm sorry about that. Now you can see the Spanish moss on the trees, I guess, behind me. Hey, Brian, going to just get right into it with you. We talked on Monday or Tuesday on lunch with the coach. Your thoughts right now on the keys to the game for the Texas Longhorns?
Yeah, I think certainly focus on this one. I don't think it's going to be a problem for Texas. I've been just kind of bewildered by some of the things that I've seen and read in some articles recently regarding Texas trying to get ready for Oklahoma and prepping the offense this and getting ready. We're going to hide this or that and save it for Oklahoma. And I like almost fell out of my chair. I couldn't believe some of the things I was reading and seeing that we're possibly prepping ourselves to get prepped for Oklahoma, or prepping ourselves to hide a certain amount of things for Oklahoma. I can tell you right now, Sark and the staff and these players are 100% focused on the Florida Gators. If the Oklahoma game was worth 2 W's or worth two L's, maybe, but it's not. The Oklahoma game is no more important than any other game in the SEC schedule, including this one. So what I'm getting to is 100% focus on Florida. I don't think that's a problem with our players or with our coaches. And that's where the focus needs to be. That Oklahoma game means nothing. You lose this game. This is the first game of the SEC schedule, and every single game is hugely important. I think penalties, number 2, for me is a big one, especially being on the road. We've committed quite a few penalties this year, and the previous couple of years, especially pre-snap penalties. That's the pre-snap penalties is where we've got to minimize some of the inflicting wounds that we've put on ourselves. So I like to see us play cleaner, even no matter how loud the crowd noise is. Cut down the pre-snap penalties on offense. Cut down the offsides penalties on defense. There's going to be a couple of holding calls. There's going to be a couple interference calls, things like that. That's all part of the game. The pre-snap stuff is something we can control, and we've got to be able to control that.
Hey, when you're Coach, when you're in your pre-week meetings leading up to a game and you see winds are going to be consistently 12, 13 miles an hour and gusting up to 28 at times, how much does that change the thought process? Obviously, it's different in the high-level D1 kicking, punting game, but also how you call an offense if you're into that wind.
I think with a great quarterback like we've got and the ability to throw the football, I think going into the wind is an advantage more so than with the wind. I see more incompletions being thrown with the wind. Everybody thinks that's a huge advantage is to have the wind behind you. But for receivers to adjust to the ball, it hurts them when your offense is with the wind. But when you're against the wind and that quarterback spinning that ball into the wind, the ball holds pretty true into the wind. But with the wind, I see a lot more incompletions and a lot more misjudging of the football by receivers, especially on deep balls. Go routes, post routes, the deeper throws. So definitely, Jerry, wind is a huge factor in the kicking game. It's a huge factor in the passing game. And it can really create or disrupt a lot of momentum, especially in the kicking game.
Brian, did you have more keys than playing clean and just not looking ahead? Were there other elements of the game you really wanted to see and talk about?
I think third downs. We mentioned this the other day at lunch with the coach, Bobby. Third downs is going to be critical. Who plays better? Because right now both offenses are really struggling on third down. Both defenses are kicking tail on third down. So as close as we can get to 50%, which is not a great number, but if we can get close to 50% on third down conversions, I just see third down being a big important down to determining who's going to win the football game. I mean, the list goes on and on. I mean, we know turnovers is paramount, and right now we've done a really good job in the turnover battle, and they have not. So if we can keep that going, if we could get a couple of interceptions off Lagway fairly early, I think his confidence will continue to erode. You could see, that night he played LSU, his confidence just eroded and kept eroding. So we've got to stay on that bandwagon of trying to turn him over.
Hey, Coach Jerry, what was that stat for third down stat that he came up with? That was you wouldn't believe this stat. What was it, Jerry?
Brian, the guy that covers Florida that we just had on from the Gainesville Sun said Florida at 3rd and 7+ is 1 for their last 27. 1 for 27 on their last 3rd and 7+. So and Billy Napier hit that. That's why I wanted to follow up with you. Is first down not the most important down for these two teams Saturday because their third downs have been so awful? I mean, who can get to second and mediums and then not screw it up? Is that like the biggest thing in this game potentially?
Yeah, that's a great point because, the greatest offenses in the world very seldom see third down. It's first down, second down, first down, first down, second down, first down. But then the next phase is getting it to 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3. Because at 3rd and 7, realistically, 30% would be a great number. Well, I think we always said 33% on 3rd and 7 or more was our goal. So, you want to get it down to that 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3, where you've got a 75% chance of making that. So, yeah, first down, second down is going to be critical. Staying out of the third and medium, third and long, and trying to get that thing to third and short. Again, I go back to this, Bobby. We've talked about this a lot. If it's 3rd and 2, and we pick up a half a yard or a yard, and it's 4th and 1, depending on field position, being moderate, punt the football. Punt the football. We do not need to give Florida a short field.
Yeah.
Midfield, punt the football, pin them down there. Let's play defense. Let's be patient. Let's be willing to win ugly a little bit, and put this on our defense. Our defense is the strength of our football team. Let's marry our offense, and let's marry all decisions to our defense.
Hey, Coach, I wanted to follow up with this. Everybody, the quarterbacks are getting the lion's share of the talk this week. Miami held, and Miami's got a really good defensive front, can really get after the quarterback, but they held Jaden Ball to 12 carries for 46 yards. I've been in a belief this week that the quarterbacks get all the attention, but Texas slowing down Jaden Ball is actually the key defensively for the Horns in this game. If Jaden Ball gets any roll going, if we look up in the middle of the fourth quarter, he's got 85, 90 yards, I think this is going to be a real dogfight of a game. How important is it to take – because he's their best player right now. How important is it to take him away from this offense like Miami did?
Yeah, like you said, Jerry, like it always starts with stopping the run. Yeah. No, regardless of what their trend is or their statistics show, you still go into every single game. You're not going to say, well, they can't run the football, so we don't need to worry about the running game. Your defensive game plan always starts with we must stop the run, and then you build from there. How are we going to stop screens? How are we going to stop play action? How are we going to stop RPOs? How are we going to stop drop back? But it always starts with how are we going to stop their run game out of each and every personnel package and every formation.
Brian, one of the questions I had relating to the Florida offense and that 3rd and 7 stat, it has to do with DJ Lagway's injury, and if his reluctance this year because of that injury to tuck it and run has really hurt that offense, if that makes sense. Because I think that his legs are a big factor, just like they are for Arch Manning, right?
Yes.
I kind of wonder if we see a healthier DJ Lagway, if that kind of rears its head here. All right, I asked Andrew the same thing, Brian. Time to look in your crystal ball.
He hates this
because we know it's by you guys too. His magic 8-ball. What do you got for the score?
Coach Irwin keeps hoping his connection drops at this point every week.
Exactly. Yeah. No doubt. It makes me feel really uneasy. But I'll go ahead and throw it out there. 24-13, good guys.
Yeah.
How do you see that panning out? Like, what in your mind's eye? Kind of take us through that, if you would.
I can see us just methodically, putting some things together on offense. 14-6 at the half or something like that. I think our offense is going to be opportunistic, hopefully off of our defense and our kicking game. And then in the second half, just trying to finish strong and put this thing away. But again, this is the SEC. Again, this Florida defense is legit. They are big time legit, and their players are not going to quit on Billy Napier. They showed that last year, and Billy is a great guy. He's one of my favorite coaches.
Yeah.
When I was in high school, and he was at Alabama as the offensive coordinator, I think my last couple of years when I was in high school, and he recruited my school, recruited a couple of my players. Class act. He was one of my favorite guys. We always talked ball. He'd come in, he'd give me this scheme or that scheme that they were doing. Just a class act. His guys are not going to quit on him. They've got a tremendous defense. It's going to be a tough game, and we just need to come out with a W and finish strong in the fourth quarter and get that done.
Hey, Coach, I got to ask you a question I've never asked you. For whatever reason, I feel dumb that I've never asked you this. We were talking about Jermaine Bishop and the great season he's having at Willis. Who's the best high school player you've seen or win against?
Oh, Lord. Oh,
Can't wait for this answer because you went against a lot and saw a lot.
I went against a lot of really good players. Jackson, Jeff, Code. The guys that come to my mind are the kind of the defensive guys we had to try to avoid or move the ball against. I think the most dominant high school player I ever coached against would be Solomon Thomas.
Oh, wow.
Defensive lineman from Coppell who played at Stanford. Yeah, and then he's now is he with the Cowboys?
Yep.
Yeah. He was immovable. He was unblockable. And he just was a terror.
That's crazy. You know, he played for Coach Shipley at Coppell.
Yeah.
A little bit there. That's kind of crazy. Now you guys do lunch with the coach. Last thing for you, Coach. The coaching matchup. I know you talked a little bit about Billy Napier there, but Steve Sarkisian is going up against Ron Roberts, the Florida defensive coordinator. Roberts was at Baylor, so there's some familiarity between the two. Do you think, and apparently Florida plays a too high shell look, almost rote by rote. I mean, they don't do a lot. They're not a big pass rushing team. Do you think that feeds in or plays into what Sark likes to go against in his style of offense?
Yes, I do. We mentioned weeks back, playing the San Jose's and, and all those guys running some of these, in my opinion, some tricked up defenses.
Junked up. Yeah.
Junked up. Yeah. Tricked up, junked up. They do a lot of twisting up front, looping nose guards around, shooting linebackers, the three high look, the flyover type defense where that middle safety, you can fit him into the run game really fast and make some things right pretty quickly. We're not going to see that type of stuff in the SEC. So I think seeing a more conventional defense with two high safeties, that really helps what we do. And it gets back to kind of normal football where they can't trick themselves into a great defensive play. So now it comes down to, all right, we know where they're going to be. They know where we're going to be. And now let's go execute. With a too high look, that the running game should be there. If they spin down a safety, they disguise it. They're going to do that to try to help themselves against the run. But with a too high look and cover two, the middle of the field is your first attack. As a coach, you just that if it's a cover two look, the middle of the field is your first go to. So that's the weakness of the defense is to be able to handle the middle of the field. So I love to see us attack the middle of the field with slots, with tight ends, and get the ball down the middle.
All right, Coach. Well, we appreciate the time as always. And where are you watching from this week?
I'm gonna watch from home. I'm looking forward to being home this weekend and watch it from the house. So I'm ready. I'm looking forward to a great game day tomorrow.
You and I are gonna have to do a separate show on Scottsdale golf courses soon. So get ready for that one.
I'm in on that. The one thing I like more in football is golf. So I'm in on that.
All right, Coach.
24-13, we're holding you. Yeah, 24-13, we're holding you to it, Coach.
Okay. All right.
Take care of yourself, Coach.
I'm in.
All right. Hey, by the way, Brian had told me earlier that he had to choose between Florida and Georgia this year. I think he's going to be at Georgia with us. So he will be doing that. Appreciate him joining us here on Friday at On Texas Football's Coffee and Football. Blake, I know you got to tell us about somebody here after we got through those two interviews.
I do indeed. But first, if I can get my computer to act right, I'm gonna maybe tell you, or I'm gonna let Vince and Colt tell you about it. Vince.
Pros know the pain stops here.
Physical therapy helps me as an athlete then and now. And do I still need therapy? Yes. Advanced Pain Care helps with that.
Injuries will stack up. They'll add up. You can't let those injuries get you down, and Advanced Pain Care has been very helpful for me.
We can help with whatever's got you down, from nerve damage to our spinal cord stimulator. Pain is inevitable. Suffering is optional. Same-day appointments available.
Advanced Pain Care. The pain stops here.
And now that my computer's acting right, I'm going to tell you about Prize Picks. We make decisions every day. But on Prize Picks, being right can get you paid. It's simple. You're going to pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections. If you get your picks right, you cash in, you can win up to 2,000 times your money. It's the best way to get in on the sports action in more than 40 states, including California, Florida, Georgia, and of course, right here in the great state of Texas. And this week, I have Arch Manning having at least 1 rushing touchdown, wide receiver DeAndre Moore to have more than 39.5 receiving yards, and Ty Simpson to have less than 3 passing touchdowns. So come join me on those picks or make your own in less than 60 seconds. Turn your sports opinions into real money. Download the Prize Pick app today. Use code ONTexas when you sign up. They're going to give you $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, that's code ONTexas to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. And that's Prize Picks. Run your game.
I got to answer a question real quick because it has to be answered. Joe Z said, I'm late. Did Jerry survive the corn dog? Look, I'm always going to be real. I talked trash about this earlier in the week, but I've received multiple texts from people, that family members and whatnot, that have been like, looked that up and said, do not do that. And I'm going to be 100% honest. Like I'm a real person. Y'all know this. I had 2 of those things and I've not felt great I had 2 of those things. And since the recall, I've not felt right down below, guys.
Well, what you're saying is you're backing out.
48 hours, I actually had a little pain out of my pistol when I peed.
Imagine that. Imagine that, Jerry.
There's something to that.
Oh, yeah. Well, Josie is disappointed. I can already tell you that. He had been looking forward to that all week, and then you just pulled the rug out from underneath.
Oh, those scientists, they don't know anything.
Yeah.
All right, Seth here has a question for you, Jerry. What's your favorite high school stadium and college stadium in Florida?
There's not a ton of great high school stadiums in the state. They don't put the money into it like they do in the state of Texas and Georgia and some other places. Bobby's at the one. The Swamp is a great college stadium. I mean, there's history there. It's a raucous, loud environment. I mean, Miami doesn't really have a home field. Florida State's good, but the Swamp is the one in the state of Florida. High school stadiums, I mean, pick your one that you can see the ocean, and that's your winner in the state of Florida. I mean, that's the winner in the state of Florida. So if you ever want to go to a game where you can kind of see the sunset with the ocean in the view. That's a hell of a high school stadium in Florida. Something on the West Coast.
We got some more super chats to get to this morning. Sugar Cane Daddy says, what was Coach Irwin's record against Coach Shipley? Bobby misspoke a minute ago. So, yes, Solomon Thomas did play for Capel. Obviously, he went against him, but Shipley was not there at that time. When Thomas was at Capel, Shipley, I think, would have been at Brownwood.
I thought he played for him as a sophomore.
No, so Bob was at Capel, if I remember correctly, 2007, 2008, and then he went to Brownwood in 2009. And then, of course, we saw him go to Texas.
And when did Solomon Thomas graduate?
I think, 2014, Jerry?
He was later. Yeah, he was later.
Yeah.
Okay.
My bad. So they, to my knowledge, they've never coached against each other.
But I could tell you what each other's record would be against each other, undefeated. Somehow it'd be 3-0, somehow it'd be 2-0.
My apologies.
So, but just a couple years. I just wanted to clear that up since we had the super chat. So Bob was at Capel though, just a couple years off on that one. Let's see. Devon says, good morning, OTF. Have seen a lot of discussion about PFF grades and David Stone. He says he takes PFF grades with a grain of salt. But who are the top defensive lines in the SEC in y'all's opinion?
Ooh.
I definitely think so. I think some OU fans are taking me to task right now. If I'm reading in between the lines correctly here, I famously said that I felt like David Stone was like a 3-star in high school after watching him play. And to this day, I believe I was right because he was he was just not good in high school. I don't know how else to say that. He was a lot of raw talent. And I had said that Jaden Jackson was better than him on his same team. And Jaden Jackson and David Stone both signed with OU. And Jaden Jackson is the one that started as a true freshman and still continues to start for OU over David Stone. David Stone 6 months ago was transferring from Oklahoma. So I don't understand all the yelling and screaming for OU fans on this. I will say that he's definitely come on and improved greatly, and he is better than I thought he would be. No doubt about that. But I don't regret saying what I said because he needed a wake-up call too. Not from me, but from coaching.
Yeah, nor should you. David Stone was the last one out to practice at IMG and the first one out to leave, and that was repeatedly. So David Stone needed to realize his potential. And some of these guys, it takes longer to even start that process, especially if you're more NIL driven and you care about the things around football before football. And that's part of this game. It's still talent maximization contest at the end of the day. The top
I want to say this. Yeah. Hats off to Brent Venables for getting it out of him and getting that done. But I don't feel bad about what I said or when I said it, or because I think the young man needed somebody to say that kind of thing.
People backed it up that weren't boisterous about it around the IMG program. By the way, they saw what he needed, how things needed to happen for that kid to actually be as good as he could be. Top 5 defensive lines. Well, Texas, I think, is one of them.
I think OU's one of them for sure.
Oklahoma's one of them. I do think Florida, even though they may, if you're just talking run stopping ability, I think Florida's one of them. I think Auburn's got a really good defensive front, guys. I do. I think Auburn's got a really good defensive front. I mean, think about the pressure that defensive line's under when your offense is set that bad, kind of like Florida. And Auburn's got better pass rushers. They got a couple NFL guys. Look, as Georgia where's their defensive front on that list? Their linebackers are their best players on the Georgia defense. We talked about it. They lost 5 of their top 6 defensive linemen off that team last year, plus Jalen Walker, who would spin down from middle backer to play edge for them on pass rush downs. Where's LSU? LSU, the edge guys are really good. They got really good frontline players on the interior to defensive line. Dominic McKinley, one of those guys that's coming on that was more of a prospect than a player at times. There's some really good defensive lines in this conference. I think the one that people wouldn't list that I think deserves to be on there is Auburn, because I think they are having to hold that whole thing together when their offense is struggling at the level they are, similar to Florida, but they've had to do it against probably better offenses, more well-rounded offenses. I mean, John Mateer's a playmaker, and A&M did go out and get speed at wide receiver and have running backs, and Auburn's had to pretty much – that D-line's had to carry that football team is what's had to happen, and that's tough. By the way, and I'm not sure we've actually brought this up, and I know we're about to get out of here. Texas is the last team to play an SEC game.
Yeah.
That's just wild to me that Texas is everybody else has played at least one SEC game.
What is Ole Miss, 3-0 in the SEC right now?
Yeah, Ole Miss is 3-0. They're the only one South Carolina's played 3. They're 1-2. Then you have Auburn and Kentucky at 0-2. But everybody else has played at least one SEC game. Texas is the last team to play a conference game this year.
That's crazy. All right, more super chats that we got to get into, guys. I'm going to group a couple of these together because, like B here, talking about Manny Muhammad, what we should expect tomorrow from the cornerback. Andrew Lockhart on that same tip as well. Says if Manny and Black are out, will it be Jalen G and Phillips with Littleton at nickel? We use a bigger nickel to add to the box to stop the run. So curious to get y'all's thoughts on their questions, and thank both of them for their super chats.
I tell you what, I do think and we do think that Manny is unlikely. We're saying that we agree that, I mean, when Sark says you're questionable, I'm just telling you, he's not Billy Napier. Sark's been pretty above board with his injury reports since he started doing these things a year and a half ago. He's really treated them, I think, like a pro coach does, and it's made to do, unlike what Billy Napier is rolling out there with the BS he does.
Yeah.
All right. So that all being said, I don't expect Manny Muhammad tomorrow. If I see him, it will be 5 to 10 to 15 snaps, something like that. I don't expect a long show. The question is, and I think it's all predicated on Wardell Mack. Is Wardell Mack a better nickel, okay, or is Cade Phillips, Warren Roberson, and potentially Kobe Black a better piece at corner than Wardell Mack is at nickel? Because if that's the case, if Wardell Mack's better, then you push actually Grayson Littleton to corner, and you make Wardell Mack your nickel. If not, then I think we'll have to wait and see what they decide to do, because they've got 3 different guys right now at corner. Kobe Black's been kind of banged up. Cade Phillips behind the scenes has really come on from what I'm hearing and has seen more playing time of late, of course, against lesser teams. And then you have Warren Roberson, who they feel has been really, really good against the run. So if you're thinking about somebody against the run at a corner support place, maybe it's Warren Roberson actually, or Kobe Black, but we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I mean, there's is this a game? And I'm not saying it's going to happen. Can't somebody say, Kyle Voster says, can't Taft play nickel?
Yes, he has.
And Jelani McDonald could too, to play the run in this game. I mean, you could see Texas look at a lot of different things depending on the personnel of Florida. But the one thing I'm going to go with is Jaden Ball is the key. If we look up at the fourth quarter and he's got 12 carries for 45 yards like he did against Miami, things are going really well for Texas.
Yep.
Stopping the run, slowing down Jaden Ball is the key.
I agree with Jerry. Make DJ Lagway beat you.
So is there a nickel in this game that can really help you in run support? Something to think about.
Yeah, fair.
And on a somewhat related question, that's from Rocky P. Thank you, Rocky. He says over 20,000 subscribers since the preseason. Amazing work. Well-deserved. Thank you, Rocky. What do you expect to see on offense with the weather situation? And what worries you the most for our defense this game?
I expect to kind of see a run-oriented offense for both teams at the outset, but I would add that I think it depends on weather. I mean, I'm not a meteorologist, so I don't want to sit here and act like I know exactly what's going to play out. But if the weather's fine, I think you'll see a Texas team that tries to run a pro-style offense. If it's not, I think they'll be more run-oriented and maybe use Arch's legs a little bit more, hopefully. We'll see what that is. The question is, what worries me about this game, frankly, turnovers and DJ Lagway somehow having a resurgence. Absent of either of those two things, I think Texas wins this football game. As long as they don't turn the ball over a bunch, and as long as DJ Lagway doesn't somehow come out and take off the mediocre cloak he's been wearing this season, I feel really good about Texas in this game. If that somehow changes, though, I feel differently.
I think the thing for me is and it's concerning. If it's something you've said, what's concerning? This is the best group of receivers Texas has played since Ohio State. They have not been playing athletes like this at wide receiver. Does somebody unexpectedly get behind them early in this game? I think they're going to go at Jalen Gilbo. I think Florida's going to watch the Ohio State tape and then kind of watch how some teams have tested Jalen Gilbo, and they're going to go after Gilbo. I think Gilbo needs to stand up to it early. And I know, some people say, if Manny's out, won't they go at the other guy? Well, maybe, but the known that people have gone at's Jalen Gilbo. And Gilbo had good coverage on the Carnell tape touchdown catch at Ohio State. There was another time where somebody got way behind him. I think you're going to see Florida attack Gilbo. So Gilbo needs to hold up in this game because Florida does have talent at wideout. Now, DJ Lagaway hasn't hit deep passes worth anything this year, but I think they're gonna attack Gilbo because they see it on tape and they've seen it with enough success.
I'd say one more thing. Watch for the fake punt tomorrow. Billy Napier's got nothing to lose.
Nothing.
You know, so watch for that kind of stuff.
All right, Bobby, tell us about BKCW one last time, please, sir.
Absolutely. BKCW. We've talked about it all season long. The insurance trap. They take you out of that by providing you with actual risk management consulting for your business, not just price quoting. Operating out of their headquarters in Austin and owned by a UT grad, BKCW uses a 5-step process to identify your business's weak spots, design a plan, execute it, and monitor your situation throughout the year so that you can lower your insurance costs while effectively managing your company's risk. BKCW has already helped some of the most well-known construction companies, restaurant groups, breweries, and nonprofits in Central Texas escape the insurance trap. And it all starts with a free risk assessment for your business. Go to bkcw.com or send them an email, info@bkcw.com, to get started with a free risk assessment or claims audit. Escape the insurance trap for you and your business with bkcw.com.
Thank you, Bobby. And we got a couple more super chats to get to before we get out of here. But first, we've had a lot of people ask about the tailgate. Is it still going? What's going on? So I'm actually going to let you tell everyone about that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going on. I think we're going to get started around 9:30, 10 o'clock tomorrow morning at the tailgate spot. There is a link there on the screen right now. Blake also has the tailgate list. https://tinyurl.com/Florida OTF for those of you listening on podcast. It should be a real fun time. It will be the largest tailgate on campus for University of Texas fans. So please come join us. We have some tickets remaining. We will eventually sell out, so you probably need to get those earlier rather than later. But again, go to this tailgate. We'll have a lot of fun. Today, this afternoon, I'm going to be at Spurrier's Bar and Grill from 4 to 5. And then I'm headed over to McDenton's Irish Pub for happy hour. That's here right next to campus. So you get a chance to walk campus a little bit if you're in town in Gainesville. From 5:30 to 7:30, we'll do a little happy hour, hang out with folks, and talk a little football and just have some fun here in Florida. Hopefully the weather stays like it is right now because it's completely dry now, guys. It looked bad earlier in the morning, but sun's out, a little overcast at times, but all in all, pretty good here in Florida.
I want to say thank you to Jerry's Jack Links for the super chat about Jerry's corn dog situation earlier. I put that up on the screen, but never told him thank you. So appreciate that. And Dante here with the super chat says a desperate Gator versus a forgotten Longhorn. Billy fighting for his tenure. Texas trying to keep their playoff chances alive, all while in a murky swamp. Texas be the villain in all white.
Yes, icy whites on display in Gainesville tomorrow. I do think, Jerry, and I wrote about this morning on Texas Football, I think both programs are at a crossroads, just different types of crossroads.
Yeah.
I mean, Napier is down that rabbit hole of will he ever get out? He's in the briar patch.
Yeah.
You don't know whether he's ever getting out of that thing. Whereas Sark and Texas right now are second year of the SEC, new quarterback. Do they really understand? Does Texas really understand the grind every day of the SEC and the every week? Well, that starts tomorrow in Gainesville, and we'll see whether or not Texas is ready for this.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's everybody nationally, 80% of people out there would love to see Texas miss the playoffs this year. I mean, that's the reality of it. Especially after going to the SEC last year and getting to the SEC title game and getting into the college football playoff, making 2 straight national semifinal appearances. Everybody would love to see Texas fail this year, and fail could be 9-3 and not get in the playoffs. But that's what the largest percentage of people around the country are hoping for, because when you have that brand, people love to see that brand fail. And so I've said it all week, it's a must-win game. I think if Texas loses this game, they will not make the playoffs because of what's in front of them. Because if you lose to this Florida team, not that Florida's doesn't have good players, they just haven't played at a good level, that you won't make the playoffs this year. Because you still go to Georgia plus your Oklahoma, and you never know what's going to happen there. And you still have a couple of tough home games at the end of the year against teams that are really motivated. So I think this is a must-win game for Texas. It's put up or shut up time. It's put up or get out of town time for Billy Napier, and I actually think that's already been decided. I just think he's done. That's already been decided. I think Florida is already into their search behind the scenes is what I think is going on. But I think for Texas, this is a must-win game because you do not want zero margin for error after 5 games. Not the place you want to be.
All right, let's see here. There was a super chat, or actually, before we get to the last super chat, Rodolfo always puts it in super chats. He says birthday is tomorrow. I'm turning 23, so I think Texas 23-6. So just wanted to say happy birthday to him. Early happy birthday, since we won't be on tomorrow with Coffee and Football.
We'll have the Saturday morning conversation for you, though, Rodolfo.
That's right. And a whole list of other activities going on, which we'll get to in just a second. And then our last super chat, Jeff Carey. Dallas finished $140 million of improvements to the Cotton Bowl. Actually, only half of the stadium. Should be a better fan experience.
Well, it would take $100 million of that to get the crickets out of the stadium. So that's only $40 million left for like seating and stuff.
Bathrooms. Bathrooms are the big issue in the Cotton Bowl.
Yeah. Well,
my
biggest issue was like if you sat under the covered area, I've never seen so many crickets in my life. Like it was unbelievable. I had crickets in my shoes, man. It was a cricket party up there.
Given that this week this year is a 2:30 start, Jerry, and given that there is a lot of drinking going on before that game by a number of fans, I think bathrooms greater than crickets.
Probably. With as much beer spill at that game, there's a bunch of drunk crickets.
Yeah, that's the truth.
Alcohol's just falling all over them when people score.
That's true.
All right, guys. Oh, Donald Britt says Sunday is my birthday, turning 71. So happy early birthday to you too, Donald. We appreciate you tuning in every day and joining us.
Long time,
Bobby, I said it a second ago, but you got a whole bunch of stuff happening tomorrow right here on Texas Football. I'm going to let you kind of tell everyone about it and run through it.
Yeah, we got the crew. We got the Saturday Convo. That'll be released around 8 o'clock in the morning. Myself, Jerry, and Rod Babers will join us. We'll talk a little Longhorn football as well as the games around the country. And then Texas Tailgate starts at around noon tomorrow. We'll have the latest for there. And then Watch With Us. Aaron Hogan will be hosting that. Thanks to the folks at Vaughn Lane for helping us with that. And then the post-game show, Flight by Yingling, immediately following the game. Myself, Rod Babers, talk to you live about what's going on. CJ Vogel, by the way, will be checking in with us from the field at Ben Hill Griffin Stadium here in Gainesville. CJ will also be with us later today for the Friday afternoon live stream over at Spurrier's Bar and Grill.
Stuff. Well, that's going to do it for today's episode of Coffee and Football presented by BKCW. We want to thank them along with Prize Picks, Advanced Pain Care, the Co-op, and IP Vanish, all for sponsoring today's show. Of course, thank you all for tuning in as well. Don't forget to head on over to ontexasfootball.com. Remember, we can't be on here all the time, but we are over there all the time. $39.95 for a year of access when you use promo code OTFOG. That's for new subscribers only, so be sure to take advantage of that limited time offer. And Bobby, I know you gave tomorrow's schedule. You talked a little bit about where you're going to be later today. We got the high school show coming up. Is there anything else that people need to know before we get out of here?
Yeah, I mean, we're going to be talking, Rod, myself, Jerry, about some other stuff later today on that live stream. I don't know what we're doing tonight for the show.
Yeah, we have Arch versus Lagway. Rod and I take a dive on Arch versus Lagway.
There we go. That's what's coming later. I was unaware that they were going to do that. So I've been on the road, Blake. I've been on the road, man.
All good, all good. All right, well, we hope you all have a phenomenal weekend. Of course, we'll be back on Monday morning to talk about Saturday's game and a whole lot more. So for Bobby Burton and Jerry Hamilton, I'm Blake Monroe, and we'll see you then.